Hi everybody, it's Rita Smith, the #1 food fairy, and I am here today to share with you one of my best, fast, super simple and easy recipes. You will be a hero in your family if you get this pulled together. You can have a chicken and some vegetables in the oven at 5 o'clock and ready to eat by 6 o'clock easily. With this recipe. Some chefs call it brick chicken or flat chicken. We are going to take the spine out and flatten the chicken and sear it in cast iron and then stick it in the oven. There's a variety of different ways you can do with the chicken all by itself. You just have a chicken. You can buy a flat chicken, which is normally twice the price of a regular chicken at the grocery store, amazingly, because they've actually taken stuff away. They've taken out the spine. They don't give you the giblets, the things that you want for soup. So you're actually getting less chicken and you're paying about double the cost just because somebody cut the spine out for you. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's so simple. This chicken costs $11, almost $12, $11.90. I think that's far too much for a chicken. Normally I pay that for a turkey. I love it when these go on sale half price, and I put like 10 of them in my freezer. However, today I paid $11 for a chicken. It's a lot to pay for a chicken, but we're gonna do this, and you'll always look for chickens on sale after this, whole chickens, and I'll tell you why afterward. Baby cut carrots, which aren't actually baby carrots. They're cut to look like baby carrots, but they're good and they are no work. So if you're just getting home from work, you don't want to peel carrots, these are awesome and they're cheap. An onion, a whole onion, some potatoes. I'm using, once again, Yukon Gold potatoes, which are my favorite. But in this recipe, you could use any kind of potato you want, especially with new potatoes coming in the province of Ontario. Well, not now. I might be getting a little ahead of myself. It's only April. But by June or July, we might be eating new potatoes. God help us, we might be. And we might not be shoveling snow either. So potatoes, whatever kind, new are great, whole new, red, waxy red. Those are great because you're not going to mash these, so they're fine. And then finally some dressing. I'm actually going to use a dressing I had made previously and put in my fridge. It's a soy sauce based dressing. It's quite good actually. But for this recipe with this chicken, you could use any kind of oil and vinegar based dressing. You could use like a cheap $1.59 bottle of Italian dressing, balsamic dressing. You can use homemade Greek dressing, anything that's got some oil and some kind of acid in it. So it could be oil and vinegar, it could be oil and soy sauce, it could be a Thai dressing, it could be a balsamic dressing. Any of those are fine. What I'm going to use today is a homemade soy dressing. But normally when I make this, I use Sobeys balsamic dressing, and I try to get it for like $2 a bottle when I can. Then the bonus vegetables in here are just stuff I found in my fridge. I had a half of a cabbage and I had one sweet potato. So I'm going to use those up. I'm going to toss those into this recipe. So the flat chicken is going to cook with all of these vegetables and dressing. I'm going to sear it on top of the stove. You'll get to see me do that. And then I'm going to take the whole cast iron pan and stick it in the stove and go do whatever else needs to be done. Okay, I've chopped all my vegetables. They're sitting off to the side waiting, and now I'm going to address the chicken. Hi everybody. Hi chicken. Here he is. When I was doing these in restaurants, 24 at a time, one case of chickens was 24 at a time. We would make a kind of a joke about sitting the chicken on its butt, which you can easily do. And then we would remove the spine with a boning knife. And if the boning knife doesn't cut it, if it's, oh no, this one's going through fairly easily. You can always switch to a French knife, but I think that actually a boning knife is probably going to do this chicken fine. So the whole magical trick here is we're simply chopping the spine out of the chicken. And look at that, it took 2 cuts and the spine is out. I'm not going to throw that out. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save this for soup. That is going into my soup bag for sure. But here's the chicken laying flat, okay, and then there is a bone, the breastbone here, which if you bend the chicken toward the top, you can get a grip on the breastbone and pop it out. You don't actually need to do it for this recipe, but I'm going to do it anyway just for the sake of it. You can pop that breastbone out, and then your chicken is I'm going to put that in the soup too. Then your chicken is boneless in the middle, and if you wanted to, you could whack, just chop it in half like they do at Swiss Chalet. You got a half of a chicken there, okay? But we're not going to do that. We're going to keep our chicken flat. This is what's called a flat chicken. I'm going to cut that lump of fat off at the bottom. That'll go in soup too. I have done a price comparison at Sobeys, who I trust and who, you know, doesn't overcharge for anything really. A regular chicken is about $11 or $12. A chicken with the spine removed is $19 or $20. Almost twice as much for what I just did. Just whack, whack, take the spine out, done, and they charge an extra $10 for that. Plus, you don't get the spine or the breastbone, and you're getting actually far less chicken for far more money. So why wouldn't you just take a boning knife and sit the chicken on its butt, whack, whack, the spine is out, and now this is ready to become brick chicken. Or a flat chicken, and I'll show you how that goes in a second after I get my spare parts into my freezer bag for the next time I make broth. But you saw how much work that was. It was nothing. It was nothing, and they charged $10 for that for like 20 seconds work. Incredible. Okay, so here's our spineless flat chicken. I'm not actually ready to cook it in this pan yet. I'm just putting it in this pan to catch the dressing that I'm going to pour onto the inside. When you read a recipe that tells you to gently separate the skin from the breast, whether it's a turkey, a chicken, a duck, a goose, whatever, gently separate the skin from the breast means do this. Pull it up at the neck and slide your fingers in here. You'll feel the skin part from the breast. You can separate that piece in the middle if you want to. If you're putting stuffing in, that's particularly important. But if you're just putting flavoring in, herbs or any kind of dressing that you're putting in for flavoring, then you don't need to worry about that center part. So I'm now separating the skin from the meat. It only takes a couple of seconds. Kind of gross. I'll wash my hands when I'm done before I touch anything else, but that's what we do. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so there is, the skin is now separated from the breast. Okay, so I'm going to take dressing. I'm going to use my own homemade, but any kind of store-bought Italian balsamic, whatever is fine. And I'm going to pour it in between the chicken and the skin, the breast and the skin. Okay, and some of it's going to pour out the bottom, which is why I put it in a container so that wouldn't get lost. Hopefully we'll be able to get some of that down, massage down into the leg and into the leg over here. We'll let that just sit for a second. That's going to kind of marinate the chicken a little bit. And I am going to go heat up a burner and put this big frying pan on the burner and get ready to drop the chicken in when the frying pan is sizzling hot, about 5.5 on my stove, halfway to the highest. Maybe even a little more than halfway, maybe 6 or 7. I want it to be hot when I drop the chicken into this pan. So we'll be back in a moment to do that, and you'll see how the searing of the flat chicken goes. Okay, I have my cast iron frying pan on the stove. I've heated it to 6 out of 10 maximum. And in a second, I'm going to pour some of the soy dressing into the pan. Under normal circumstances, cooking in a cast iron pan, you would put some fat in. You'd put a little tiny drop of olive oil or a little tiny drop of bacon fat. But because there's already olive oil in the dressing that I'm using, and already the dressing that I'm using is seeping out of the chicken, where it's flavoring and tenderizing the chicken, I'm going to pour a little bit of that dressing into the pan. We'll let it get hot. It's pretty hot already, actually. And then I'm going to take the flat chicken and I'm going to put it breast side down into this pan. It's, if I need more oil, I'll add it. Don't worry about that. I'm not afraid of that. But I'm going to put it in breast side down. Add the rest of the dressing that's dripped out of the chicken. Because this dressing is soy sauce based, I'm not going to add any extra salt. I will figure out later if I need any more salt, but because soy sauce is salty already, I'm not going to add any extra salt. I am going to put the lid to my Dutch oven. You could use any lid that you have, but I'm going to put the lid to my Dutch oven on top of that chicken, and we're going to let it sear for, I'm going to say 2 minutes. Let's just for argument's sake, let's say 2 minutes, see how that goes. And when we come back, we'll flip the chicken over. Okay, we're back. Actually, I left that go for 4 minutes. Okay, I checked it at the 2-minute mark, and it was not as seared as I wanted it to be. So I cooked the breast side of this chicken for 4 minutes. Now I'm going to flip it over. And we're going to cook the other side. I think we'll give it 4 minutes as well. So that'll mean in the frying pan, we're giving this chicken 8 minutes of searing. Okay. So, get back there. This chicken wants to keep making comments. Okay, we're going to put the lid back on, and we're going to let it sear for another 4 minutes. Okay, so we're back with our chicken seared on both sides. I'm going to turn the timer off. I've already heated the oven to 350. I'll take the lid off. Okay. Our chicken is not only seared, but as you can see, some fat is coming out of the chicken. So you don't want to put too much fat in the pan because fat is going to come out of the chicken, which is why I didn't add any other fat than the dressing that was on the flat chicken. And now I am going to, on top of the chicken or to the side of the chicken, anywhere that I can, I'm going to toss in all the vegetables that I found in my fridge. So I had carrots, I had potatoes, I had onions, I had cabbage, I had one sweet potato. We're tossing him in too. Okay, there's the potatoes, onions. We're going to toss those all in to kind of cuddle that chicken in the pan in a nice way. Okay. And then on top of potatoes, carrots, onions, a sweet potato, I had some cabbage. I'm going to toss that in there too. This is pretty much every vegetable I had in my fridge, with the exception of Brussels sprouts, and they were questionable, so I didn't put those in. But now, my seared chicken, I'm just covering it in vegetables. A lot of liquid will come out of those vegetables, by the way. I am going to just sprinkle a little salt over top of the vegetables because they are completely unsalted and may not benefit from the soy sauce the way the chicken did. So just a tiny, that would be a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Tiny, tiny amount of salt. So what I'm going to do now is put my Dutch oven top back on the pan. If you don't have a Dutch oven top, you want to weight it down with some other top. You can also simply put aluminum foil over the pan. But I would leave the foil parted at the edges to let a little bit of the liquid get out and let the meat crisp a little bit. So now, because I am lucky enough to have this giant cast iron pan, I could do this in a smaller pan, but I'd have to add fewer vegetables. I'm lucky enough to have this giant cast iron pan and a cast iron lid. I'm going to take this whole entire kit and caboodle and stick it in the oven for 45 minutes. So the chicken is seared, the vegetables are cleaned, the lid is on the top. They've got more than enough in terms of dressing, liquid, and fat. If they don't, about halfway through, I'll add a bit more dressing, but I doubt they'll need it once the liquid starts coming out of the vegetables. And I'm going to stick this in the oven for 45 minutes, and when I'm done, it'll be dinner with meat, vegetables, potatoes, everything that you could hope for. in one pan to wash and one very inexpensive chicken. So here it goes into the oven, and we will be back when I'm ready to show you what it looks like coming out of the oven. Okay, the timer has gone off. It went off at the 45-minute mark, and I actually gave the chicken 10 minutes more. I used a turkey baster to put a little bit of liquid on the the chicken and the vegetables, so that they could crisp up just a little bit more. I didn't think that things were exactly right at 45 minutes, so I let them go to 55 minutes. And here is what our pan of food looks like at 55 minutes. So we have crisped chicken, we have potatoes that are soft and easy to poke with a fork. We have carrots that are soft and easy to poke with a fork. Cabbage, which is soft and easy to poke with a fork. Chicken, which was pre-crisped before we put it in the pan, and will be crispy and delicious when we take it out. So what I'm going to do now is transfer this to something that I can actually move to the dining room table. Now, if we were all eating casually in the kitchen, I might just dish my family up out of this pan. Maybe you don't even need to dirty a serving dish. But you know what? If you're going to take it out to the table, and kids like some vegetables, but they don't like others, they might like sweet potato, but they don't like cabbage, whatever, you don't want to prejudge what kids might be happy to eat. So here is everything. Chicken, carrots, sweet potatoes, onions, potatoes, ready to go onto a serving tray and go out to the dining room table. And that was in the oven for 55 minutes in total. So I'll come back in a moment and show you how it looks all ready to serve. And there you go, flat chicken. It's easy and not expensive, and you can do it yourself. You don't need to pay somebody 10 bucks to chop the spine out of a chicken for you. You can do it yourself. So give me 2 seconds and I'll be back. Well, alrighty then, as Jim Carrey would say. Here is your finished flat chicken with carrots, sweet potatoes, cabbage, onions, and potatoes. You could add anything else you wanted to this meal, but everything that a family needs is here. And the chicken is going to be tender and delicious. I'm actually going to deglaze the pan and maybe make a little bit of gravy out of the liquid that's left over, but that's not, you don't need to do that. That's ultra fancy. However, I would say for an $11 chicken and the vegetables that were left in my fridge, here you go. It took less than an hour, and it's everything that your family needs on one plate at one time. And I hope that you have found this extended. I realized I took a long time, but I taught you a lot of things. Extended visit on how to take the spine out of a chicken, how to sear it, how to put it in cast iron, stick the whole thing in the oven, and make a flat chicken. Flat chickens are going at the grocery store for about $10 or $12 more than a regular chicken, and you can certainly flat the chicken yourself if that's what you want to do. It does make cooking faster, and it is like a little bit exciting, as you can tell by looking. And there you go. So be confident in the kitchen. Don't worry about, if you mess something up, either you'll eat it or you'll throw it away. Who cares? I'll tell you what, 3 screwed up homemade meals is still cheaper than 1 takeout meal. So try some things, and if they don't turn out the way you want them to, pitch them and start over. Be confident in the kitchen.